Hi, Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I'm sitting with Debra Miller in front of her terrific mixed media piece. Debra, will you introduce us to it?
The name is The Lady of the Pines. It's a modern interpretation of John Waterhouse's, who is a Pre-Raphaelite artist, The Lady of Shallot. Since I'm now living in New Jersey,
Lady of the Pines, basically.
Right, I got this idea. You have these blueberries and your reeds, and I had this idea just to make contemporary painting because that is one of my favorite paintings, actually. And the Pre-Raphaelites are my favorite artists. How I did this was it's molded paper.
Okay.
That to give it the sculptural effect. And there's paper also. This right here is paper. Obviously, this is real live reeds and cattails and lichen and a real branch. Or two real branches, actually. And I just love adding I'm starting to add 3D to my pieces.
So when you're doing it, do you, I'm assuming that you paint the large swaths of the background in first and then add the three-dimensional objects, or had you already built this up before you start painting?
Yes, I built it up first. And
obviously
I did some of the painting and then I built it up. So I did the face and then, yes, I did some of the background and then built up the 3D with paper.
Yeah, when you come see this, it has to be seen in person because it literally has dimension to it. So from every different angle, it has, you can see the depth and the perspective of it. You said that you are fascinated and the Pre-Raphaelites are your very favorite. And I can definitely see that influence in here. You said you're looking to modernize, make modern interpretations of them. Do you mean that? How do you mean that? I think it's interesting.
Since they were like the mid to late 1800s, some of the paintings that I like of theirs, there's Malay, because my next one is going to be Malay's Ophelia.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what I'm doing also is adding a Jersey twist to the
I do like that too.
Because with Ophelia, I'm actually going to have her, I'm probably actually telling stuff I probably shouldn't be telling.
No pressure.
As I'm doing it, I'm going to have her at the beach, actually, and having water.
Oh.
So it'll be,
it'll be
harmless Ophelia, but it'll be Ophelia at the beach.
Well, for our time, in situations that we would find time in. And I also think that when you're talking about the Pre-Raphaelites, they were still doing a flat picture frame.
Oh, yeah.
You're working with
bright colors. And they really like bright colors. And I know probably sometimes nowadays they're considered kitsch, but I think they're brilliant painters.
Touchstones. We call it touchstones because
I like kitsch.
Yeah. I like kitsch too.
But they're also very romantic, and they're romantic in romanticism as well as romantic in the storytelling.
Well, yeah, and they touch on things that have become cliche. But we talk about this with one of the other artists that we have shown a few times, which is cliche. There's a reason it becomes cliche. It's because it's a touchstone that everyone can relate to. Mm-hmm. And so what you're doing is you're taking touchstones and you're putting them in a modern interpretation on them, which makes them feel relevant. And yet, when we talk about kitsch and cliche, sometimes that becomes a thing. But the thing is the reason we go back to it is because it has meaning for.
It's a shorthand.
It's a shorthand that says this has meaning to all of us as humans.
Yeah. So. Right, because poetry, they probably were the first illustrators, and I've done illustrating in all my career besides my fine arts. So that could be also why I've really because they were probably the first illustrators, because they illustrated poems
Yeah.
and books and
Yeah.
music and so.
But they were also using modern models, which it was,
Yes.
you know, they weren't necessarily going back to ancient sculpture or archaic sculpture in order to get their human figures. They were actually using real people of the time.
Right. In fact, several of them married their models.
Yeah.
Dante Gabriel Rossetti married his, Holman Hunt married his. So they had relationships with their models. But I so I got this idea to,
How long have you been working in this body for? I'm just curious.
It's recent. I've always done portraits, and I've done commissioned portraits. I'm branching out. I really like adding sculptural elements to my paintings. So that's probably the last 4 years, 3 years.
It's
a very recent thing.
The mix of nature versus like where you're using the dimensionality of nature versus where you're building it up using your own materiality is really nice, and it creates it's nice how well this integrates, and yet there is a different texture and finish on each of these things that makes it visually interesting, and yet when you're standing with it, it reads as a fully composed piece with nice depth.
Good. So that was my intent. So that's sort of where I'm headed. Like I said, the next one will be Ophelia.
Well, this is perfect because this is perfect for changelings because one,
that's what I thought.
You're working with you're not changing the story, but you're transforming an existing media. You're using lots of different materialities. So there's change there, there's changes in depth, there's changes all over this place. So I think that really fits the theme beautifully. So
And also, is that a model that you know, or did you base it on?
It's a model that I know. Yes.
So it's so photorealistic.
Yeah.
So we actually, when we were looking at your pieces, we were like, is this a photo?
It was really hard to get a photo because of the dimension and stuff. It was really hard to shoot it.
So yeah, but it's beautiful. But the features are so vivid and photorealistic. But I always say this. We always say better than a photo because there's a sympathy and the way, and the way the light hits is very nice. So we hope you will come see Debra's piece during our Changeling show from now through November 20th. Thank you so much.